Would you like to read an article from the BBC with me? And make sure you watch right until the end because I'm going to read the article in full at the end so you can follow along and practice your pronunciation by imitating me. And also at the end, I'll share the link to the free PDF that you can download and get the notes from this lesson so you'll have the article with all the vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structure that we reviewed today. Welcome back to J-Force English Training. Of course, I'm Jennifer, and this is your place to become a fluent, confident English speaker. Let's get started. Welcome to our article. The headline is Gaslighting. Merriam-Webster picks its word of the year. Of course, Merriam-Webster is the dictionary, the most common dictionary in American English, Cambridge Dictionary being the most common in British English, and their word of the year is gaslighting. Don't worry if you don't know what this is, you'll learn all about gaslighting, the new word of the year in this lesson. So let's continue on. When British playwright Patrick Hamilton wrote Gaslight in 1938, little did he know how often the word would be used in the 21st century. So this explains the image right here. It's from the film Gaslight. I personally have not seen this film. I have never heard of this film. As you can see, it's from 1938, which is probably why I haven't heard of it. Now, they will give us the definition of gaslight. Merriam-Webster, America's oldest dictionary publisher, has just chosen gaslighting as its word of the year. Searches on its website for the word have spiked by 1,740% in 2022, according to the company. Now let's take a look at this. Searches have spiked. So when something spikes, generally it's something that is on a chart or on a graph. And when you have a spike, it's a very sharp and sudden increase. So you can think of it as a drastic increase. Let me give you another example using spike. Remember, this is our verb, so we need to conjugate our verb. I could say gas prices have spiked in recent months. It's been months now, in recent months. Gas prices have spiked. So they went from here to here quite quickly. There was a drastic increase, have spiked. And what verb tense am I using right here? Have spiked. I'm using the present perfect to show an action that started in the past and continues until now. And you know that because I also say in recent months right here. Now also notice I have because gas prices, this is plural. So this is what subject is it? I, you, he, she, it, we, they. You can always think back to the subject. This is they have spiked. So if I had something singular such as the price of milk has spiked. The price of milk has spiked. Now I can definitely use it without a time reference and still use the present perfect. This shows a past action. So this is a completed past action. Okay? But I have it in the present perfect because there is an impact on the present. When I go to the grocery store today, I have to pay more money for milk. That's the impact on the present, even though the action of the price increase is completed. It's in the past. So that's why it's in the present perfect. And notice how I'm not saying milk has spiked. That doesn't really make sense. Milk, what about it? It's the price of milk, the price. So that's why I said here, gas prices. Gas prices have spiked. The price of milk has spiked. And our subject for this is it. If you turn it into a subject, I, you, he, she, it. And that's why we have has. It has, they have. So you can use this when you have items on a chart. Price is a great one. Sales could have spiked as well, which is really positive. You see a drastic increase in sales. Sales have spiked, for example. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what is gaslighting? What does this mean? Gaslighting is the act or practice of grossly misleading someone, especially for one's own advantage. Okay, this is the definition here. Now let's take a look at grossly misleading someone. When you add grossly, it's the same meaning as a lot. When you're misleading someone a lot, when you're grossly misleading someone. So you can think in this specific context, you can think of this grossly as a lot. And the a lot is referring to how much you're misleading. Now, if you're not sure what misleading someone means, it's when you give information to somebody that is false, and you know that information is false, and you want that person to act according to that false information. So let's say I know that there's a sale on at the Apple Store tomorrow, but they have a very limited supply of iPhones that are on sale. And my friend also wants an iPhone, but there's a very limited supply. And I know the sale is tomorrow, but my friend might ask me, Jennifer, when's the sale? And I say, oh, it's next week. The sale is next week. I just misled my friend because I gave her false information, and I did it because I want to benefit in some way from that. I want the sale for myself. I don't want my friend to have the sale. So I just misled my friend. So it's when you to provide false information on purpose to influence someone's actions or decisions. I influence my friend's decision or action because she isn't going to go to the store tomorrow. She's going to go next week and miss the sale. And then I can add for one's own benefit, which is right here. One's own advantage, benefit, they're the same thing. And it just means I am going to win and my friend is going to lose in some way. Now, I'm going to scroll down because I shared another definition of gaslighting and some other examples. So let's just scroll down and we'll review those now, and then we'll come back. So gaslighting, this is a noun. And remember, you can download this PDF so you can have this. And here's another definition I provided. The action of tricking or controlling someone by making them believe things that are not true, especially by suggesting that they may be mentally ill. So I included this definition because it shows how severe gaslighting is and is generally psychological. It's a form of trying to trick someone psychologically. So making them think that there's something wrong with them when there isn't something wrong with them. So I shared the second definition, and then there's some examples. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse because you're trying to make someone think that something is wrong with them. Now notice, gaslighting, we started with our gerund, because gaslighting is a noun. So I'm starting my sentence with the gerund, which acts as the subject of the sentence. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse. His gaslighting, so it's just the action belonging to him. His gaslighting was a deliberate attempt to convince her that she was losing her grasp on reality. When someone loses their grasp on reality, it's another way of saying that they're going crazy in a very drastic way. That, again, it's that psychological abuse. So you're trying to make someone seem like they aren't okay in their head, in their mind. So losing your grasp on reality. Her father used a gaslighting tactic. So I want you to notice how it's being used, how the word is being used in these different sentences. Her father used a gaslighting tactic when he declared that she must have imagined the entire episode. So imagine you tell your father something traumatic that happened to you. Perhaps your laptop was stolen, okay? And you're telling your father, and your father is trying to convince you that you didn't have a laptop. So now you start to doubt yourself, and you start to doubt, I didn't have a laptop? What? I thought it was stolen. I must be losing my grasp on reality. I must be going crazy. There's something wrong with me psychologically because I thought my laptop was stolen, and my father, who I trust, is telling me I didn't even have a laptop. So as you can see, it's a very severe word, and it has very negative consequences. So get comfortable with these example sentences to see how you can use gaslighting in your speech. Now let's go back to our article now that you know what gaslighting is. In this age of misinformation. So notice when we add this mis on to information, misinformation is false information. Which is interesting because we can take our word lead someone, but when you add mis in front of it, it means that you're falsely leading them. So it's the same suffix in a way. So just remember information, but if you add mis, it means false information. In this age of false information, fake news, conspiracy theories, Twitter trolls, and deepfakes, gaslighting has emerged as a word for our time, Merriam-Webster said in a statement on Monday. Notice here, has emerged. This is our present perfect. It's a completed action in the past that has an impact on the present. The impact is now everybody is talking about this. It's the word of the year. And notice gaslighting is singular. So that's why we have has. It would be conjugated as it. It has emerged. Curiously, search interest in the word was not driven by any single event, the company's editor at large told the Associated Press. So notice here, curiously. Now watch my face. Curiously, So they're saying this to say, well, isn't that interesting? Curiously. So they're saying they're surprised by this. curiously. So you can add that when you want your audience to understand that it's not something you expected. So you might say, curiously, she turned down the promotion. So when you turn something down, you do not accept the offer. So you can say, curiously, she did not accept the promotion. That's the meaning of to turn down, is she did not accept. But we would expect her to accept the promotion, right? So if I say curiously, why did she do that? It makes you think about it. It makes you wonder. It's not what you expected. Search interest in the word was not driven by. Okay. Was not driven by. So this is a great expression. Notice the sentence structure because this is advanced. Something is driven by something. Now, this is another way of saying caused by, when you want to provide the reason why. So I could say recent sales were driven by Black Friday. So of course, all prices are reduced on Black Friday, right? There's promotions. So I could say recent sales were driven by Black Friday. This is another way of saying were caused by when I want to provide the reason. Cause. So I can say driven by or caused by. Now notice the sentence structure because this is in the passive form. Recent sales, this is plural. There's more than one. So I need my verb to be they were. I need my plural form of the verb to be, and it's in the past simple because it's the passive voice. Now, driven does not change because it's in the passive. If I wanted to put this in the active sentence, what would I do? Any ideas? I need to start with Black Friday drove recent sales. Drove is in the past simple. Drive, drove, driven. I'll write that down for you. Drive, drove, driven. Those are our three forms. As you can see, it's irregular. Black Friday drove recent sales. That's the active. In the passive, recent sales were driven by Black Friday. So this is our active. So that's an advanced structure that will sound really great adding to your speech. Let's continue. It was a word looked up frequently every single day of the year. Peter Sokolowski, your guess is as good as mine. Peter Sokolowski told the U.S. Wire Service. So notice here our phrasal verb to look something up. This is another way of saying to search for. And we use it specifically with internet searches, with Google searches when you're trying to find information. It was a word looked up. So this is very common. Someone might ask you, can you look up when the store closes? So they want you to look it up. They want you to Google when does the store close. They want you to find the information and then share the information with them. Can you look up when the store closes? Did you look that up yet? So they're a few minutes later, an hour later, hey, did you look that up yet? Yeah, I looked it up, but I couldn't find anything. Let me call them. So you're saying you tried to find, you looked it up, you Googled it, but there was no information available online. So you have to call them. So very common phrasal verb. Gaslighting derives its origins from Hamilton's Victorian-era play set in London about a middle-class marriage based on lies and deceit. That makes sense, right? Because gaslighting is all about lying to someone, misleading someone. Remember, misleading, misinformation to try to make someone think they're losing their grasp on reality. They're going crazy. Lead character Jack Manningham seeks to convince his wife Bella that she is going insane. So insane is another way of saying you're losing your grasp on reality, including by saying she is imagining the dimming of the gaslight in their home. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting because it shows you where the word comes from. Because isn't it weird? Gaslighting. What is that? What kind of word is that? Well, it's from this play where this exact situation happened. This is very interesting to me, at least, because I had no idea where this term came from. So the gaslight is just the light, but of course, back in 1930s, they used gas to light their lamps in their home. The play was twice adapted for the screen in the UK in 1940, then in the US in 1944. The American version, which stars Ingrid Bergman, won 2 Academy Awards and is preserved in the U.S. National Film Registry as a culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant work. So that just tells you about the importance of the film, which I didn't know anything about this film, so that's quite interesting. Now, maybe I'll watch this film. But as Merriam-Webster notes, while the term referred primarily to psychological manipulation in the 20th century, its modern use is driven by the vast increase in channels and technologies used to mislead people, especially in personal and political contexts. So this is interesting. They're saying primarily it was about psychological. What? I didn't have a laptop? Or what? The light was always this bright? They're trying to trick you psychologically. But they're saying now the word is evolving into using more general misinformation. Remember, misinformation, false information. And here they're showing us again the word mislead, because there are channels and technologies used to mislead people. So there might be a channel telling you that you should do this for some specific reason, but they're misleading you. It's false information, and it could be for a personal gain or a political gain as well. And notice again, is driven by its modern use. So it being the term gaslighting. So the modern use of the term gaslighting is driven by. So it's caused by the vast increase. Vast means a lot, a vast increase. So it's a significant increase. That could be another way of thinking of it. That's another very useful adjective to have. Significant increase, vast increase. So these are just terms to say increase a lot. They're adjectives. Significant increase, vast increase. So that's an adjective there. And significant increase, that's a very advanced adjective. And same with vast increase. Of course, it sounds a lot more advanced than saying it increased a lot. It increased a lot. There was a significant increase, significant increase. There was a vast increase. So that's a great advanced adjective that you can use. And that's the end of the article. So now you know all about gaslighting, the word of the year. So now I'm going to read the article from start to finish so you can practice along with my pronunciation. Gaslighting. Merriam-Webster picks its word of the year. When British playwright Patrick Hamilton wrote Gaslight in 1938, little did he know how often the word would be used in the 21st century. Merriam-Webster, America's oldest dictionary publisher, has just chosen gaslighting as its word of the year. Searches on its website for the word have spiked by 1,740% in 2022, according to the company. Gaslighting is the act or practice of grossly misleading someone, especially for one's own advantage. In this age of misinformation, of fake news, conspiracy theories, Twitter trolls, and deep fakes, gaslighting has emerged as a word for our time, Merriam-Webster said in a statement on Monday. Curiously, search interest in the word was not driven by any single event, the company's editor-at-large told the Associated Press. It was a word looked up frequently every single day of the year, Peter Sokolowski told the U.S. Wire Service. Gaslighting derives its origins from Hamilton's Victorian-era play set in London about a middle-class marriage based on lies and deceit. Lead character Jack Manningham seeks to convince his wife Bella that she is going insane, including by saying she is imagining the dimming of the gaslight in their home. The play was twice adapted for the screen, in the UK in 1940, then in the US in 1944. The American version, which stars Ingrid Bergman, won 2 Academy Awards and is preserved in the U.S. National Film Registry as a culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant work. But as Merriam-Webster notes, while the term referred primarily to psychological manipulation in the 20th century, its modern use is driven by the vast increase in channels and technologies used to mislead people, especially in personal and political context.
Amazing job with this article. Now you can look in the description below this video and you'll see the link where you can download the PDF that has all the grammar, the vocabulary, and the sentence structure that we reviewed today. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe. And before you go, make sure you head on over to my website, jforrestenglish.com, and download your free speaking guide. In this guide, I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. And until next time, happy studying!